us is no longer whether we can govern ourselves, but how well we govern, how equitably we grow, how sustainable our growth is, and how resilient we can build our nation. It is important to note that the Ghana we want cannot be built by any one individual or single administration. It requires partnership, it requires discipline, innovation, and national consensus building. It demands that we move beyond rhetoric to implementation, beyond short-term fixes to long-term solutions, and beyond narrow interests to the national interest. Growth and consolidation must be permanent. We must continuously strengthen state institutions, continuously grow our economy, and consolidate accountable governance. We cannot build the Ghana we want if the progress made under one regime is reversed under another. Our economic development programs must be medium to long term. We cannot build the Ghana we want together if after every regime change, economic development programs are discarded and replaced with entirely new ones. Our progress as a nation must transcend political seasons. And this is why I've decided to make this second mandate so graciously granted to me by Ghanaians count. I've pledged, sorry, you can clap if you want. I'll take that again. This is why I've decided to make this second mandate so graciously granted to me by Ghanaians count. I've pledged to raise our economy and governance to a level that no succeeding government can reverse. In a region where democracy is backsliding, we must demonstrate that democracy works and that our people can have faith in their leaders to uphold their interests and create opportunities for national prosperity. I can assure Ghanaians also that we lack the current fiscal discipline and efficient management of the economy, even in the election year of 2028. Madam Chairperson, I have just 5 short pillars in which I discuss for this occasion. A sustainable Ghana must on a productive, diversified, and resilient economy, one that is capable of withstanding while creating opportunity for. Our development model must move away from excessive dependence on raw material exports towards addition, industrial production, and not big price. We will roll out a policy this year that requires value addition to our minerals, to our petroleum and agricultural products before export. It is in this context that my government has placed the 24-hour economy and accelerated export development program at the heart of our reset agenda. This program is not a slogan, it is a structural transformation strategy to extend productivity beyond daylight hours, deepen manufacturing, support logistics and agro-processing, and create millions of decent jobs across the value chain. This can only be achieved in an environment that is conducive to investment. And this is why my administration has moved quickly to implement the urgent reforms that are required to stabilize and grow our economy. We've achieved measurable success, including a stable currency, touted as the best performing in the world for the year 2025, falling from 23.8% at end or to just above by the end of 2025. Debt falling from above 66% GDP at the end of 2020 to 45% of GDP at the end of 2025. And foreign reserves from 8.9% at the end of 2020 to $13.8 billion in 2025. Madam Chairperson, investing massively in improving our infrastructure. Instead, more than 13 in our Big Push program. In 2026, we have allocated a paying sum of $30 billion for the Big Push. This will see in our road network, in education, business, and manufacturing. And one next under our Big Push is going to be expressway. Those who have spoken to me, I wish that they when holding Accra Kumasi Road for more than 7. Accra is the biggest in Ghana and the capital. Kumasi's biggest city, Ghana. And the traffic between these, it's a shame that we have still linking our two. This will be a thing of the past. Cutting sword to cutting sword for construction of the expressway. Early this year too, I will inaugurate that will be location and this green digital. This is a 3 regions, Great Water region. It will move the government office institution into this congest the crowd. And for those who miscommunicate and try to twist my words, the new city will not be the capital. The capital will continue to be the seat of government and it will be the capital of Ghana. But we'll create a new city that will be smart, that will be innovative. There will be no kiosks, no containers, and no beggars on the streets. Madam Chairperson, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we're strengthening domestic revenue mobilization, restoring fiscal discipline, rebuilding confidence in the financial sector, and supporting indigenous enterprises to grow. Economic resilience is not achieved through austerity alone, but through production, inclusion, and shared prosperity. As the keynote speaker said, the IMF program, the Extended Credit Facility program with the IMF, has been very successful. We will emerge from the Extended Credit Facility with the IMF towards the middle of this year. And it is my hope that this will be the very last time we will ever go for a bailout from that international monetary institution. It must be the 17th and the last time that Ghana goes for a bailout from the IMF. We'll continue our collaboration with the IMF under Article 4 and other instruments that the IMF have. But it will definitely be the last time we go on our knees to beg for a bailout. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the second pillar is human capital development and as the engine of growth. No nation has ever developed beyond the quality of its people. Human capital development, education, skills, health, and innovation are therefore the foundations of sustainable growth. We must improve learning outcomes at all levels of our educational system, especially at the basic level, in order to equip our children with the critical learning skills needed to prepare them for higher education. Our focus is not only on access, but also on quality and relevance. From early childhood education to TVET, from tertiary institutions to lifelong learning, we are aligning education with the demands of a modern economy, digital, green, and globally competitive. In this regard, I'm pleased to affirm the government's commitment to the Digital Youth Village and the Center for Digital Youth Development, initiatives that are pioneered here at the University of Ghana. And as promised by government, we've already invested some money in this project, and in 2026, government has allocated an additional 70 million Ghana cedis for this program. And of course, the Minister of Education has announced a top-up from the GET Fund of another 200 million Ghana cedis. This project will serve as a national model for 16 digital hubs of excellence that will support the 24-hour economy, digital entrepreneurship, innovation, and academic delivery. Our youth are not a problem to be managed, they are assets to be empowered. Pillar 3 is good governance, accountability, and national discipline. Madam Chairperson, sustainable development is impossible without public trust in institutions. Good governance is not an abstract. It concerns how power is exercised, how resources are managed, and how decisions affect ordinary lives. My administration is strengthening anti-corruption institutions, restoring respect for the rule of law, and insisting on value for money in public spending. Accountability must be not rhetorical. Transparency must be systemic and not selective. And this is why this year we'll establish an independent value for money office to ensure that every cedi that is spent on behalf of the people of Ghana delivers real value. But governance reform also requires national discipline. A culture where rules are respected, public resources are protected, and civic responsibility is embraced. Development is not delivered solely by government. It is sustained by citizens who believe in the systems and contribute to its success. Leadership must lead the way by example. We published a code of conduct to guide public officers, ministers, and others in their day-to-day behavior. We will this year pass the Code of Public Officers Bill, which is currently in Parliament. This bill will codify the requirements for accountability by public officers. And so it will no longer be moral suasion, it will be law, and you to abide by the law. There's a very interesting incident. A friend of mine arrived, a businessman from Dubai, and he was in first class. I won't name the airline. Everybody knows which airline normally would take if you go to Dubai. He was in first class. And first class, for those of you who have traveled in first class before, it's got 8 cabins. And this person arrived and was the only person in the first class cabin. And I said, "Oh, President, why have you done that?" I said, "Why?" He said, "I was the only person in the first class cabin." And he asked, "Why?" He asked the stewards, "Why aren't people traveling in your first class?" And the steward said, "The President of Ghana has banned all his ministers and public officers from traveling first class." And so all the ministers and public officers are at the back here in business. And it's true, when he went, several chief executives and others were in business class. So the ban is still effective. And like I said, even if you can afford it, don't travel first class. If you travel, I'll sanction you. Distinguished participants, I received the report of the Constitutional Review Committee recently. And so this month, before the end of this month, we will inaugurate the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee. When the Constitutional Review Implementation Committee is established, we will engage with all political parties and stakeholders to assist the CRIC to advance the recommendations that were contained in the Constitutional Review Committee report. The fourth pillar I want to talk about, distinguished, is on environmental stewardship and climate resilience. And I think I've talked on that very much. We cannot build the Ghana we want while the foundations of our future. Mental degradation from illegal mining to deforestation and pollution poses to food security, water systems, and public health. Our development path must therefore be environmentally responsible. We're implementing sustainable practices, protecting water bodies, and investing in renewable energy and strengthening climate adaptation for vulnerable communities. I want to commend the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in the fight against galamsey. It has so entered the fabric of our people that it's not been an easy fight. Communities have mobilized to attack, the task force when they have gone to enforce the ban on illegal mining. And so I'll encourage the task force, the minister, the Environmental Protection Agency, all of those involved in the fight against illegal mining, please don't give up. There are some positive results beginning to show. Recently, during the Christmas, my house was like the Makola market. Every person who knows the family, friends, business people, everybody wanted to come and spend a few minutes wishing us Merry Christmas. And so on 25th, the house was full outside, the cars parked all the way to the main road, and everybody coming to take just a few minutes of our time to wish us Merry Christmas. And so Madam Lodina said, we cannot take this stress, and so pack your bag, I'm taking you out of town. And so we ran away to a place called Crown Forest, where they have some zebras and giraffes. And I was telling Uncle Ishmael Rampton, for the first time in 2 years, I slept at 9 o'clock in the night and woke up at 9 o'clock the next morning. And it was a very peaceful, serene environment. But why I raise it is that when you go to where they have the animals, you cross a stream. And before we crossed the bridge, I asked them, which river is this? They said it was the Ayinsu River. And he said, if you had come here 6 months ago, this water was the color of coffee. He says now is the color of light Milo. And so, and so it's getting better. And so we appreciate the work that NIMOS and the river guards are doing. Apparently, the river guards had operated upstream where the mining was taking place. And so it had changed the color of the water. And so that's why I'm encouraging you to keep up the fight and even strengthen it even more. Development and environmental protection are not exclusive goals. When properly managed, they actually are mutually reinforcing. Pillar 5 is inclusion, cohesion, and shared national purpose. A divided nation cannot sustain development. The Ghana we want to build together must be inclusive, cohesive, and fair, where no region of the country is left behind. No gender is marginalized and no generation is excluded. We passed the affirmative action law, and I must admit ashamedly that we are behind. We are falling behind the targets of the affirmative action law. We must accept that our female gender is equally as qualified and capable of running public office as the male gender. Next time when we decide to constitute the governing boards of state institutions, we will put a caveat there that says that at least a certain percentage must be women, because most of the governing boards have institutional representatives. And so when the president appoints those he's expected to appoint, he appoints a certain number of women and men. And then we expect the governing boards to bring their representatives. And you find in almost all cases that they are all men. And so we'll change the format of constituting these governing boards so that the state institutions are compelled to make sure that the right percentage of these governing boards are constituted by women. Inclusivity must be reflected in resource allocation, in infrastructure development, social protection, and leadership opportunities. Progress must be measured not only by GDP growth, but also by reduced inequality, improved social mobility, and improved quality of life. National unity is not uniformity, it is shared purpose and diversity. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the role of partnership. This conference reminds us that national development is a collective endeavor. Academia must continue to provide evidence and ideas. The private sector must innovate and invest. Civil society must engage and hold government to account. Traditional and religious institutions must uphold moral values, and the media must inform with integrity and accuracy. The annual New Year School has consistently provided a platform where ideas meet policy and dialogue informs action. I look forward to the communique and recommendations from your deliberations at this year's school, and assure you that they will receive the serious consideration they deserve. As I conclude, the Ghana we want is not an illusion. It is achievable through discipline, hard work, unity, and visionary leadership. The choices we make today will shape the inheritance we leave our children in the future. Let us therefore build with purpose, govern with integrity, and act with courage, knowing that sustainable development is not a destination, but a continuous national commitment. I thank you for your dedication, patriotism, and service to Ghana. And I also note that while I was speaking, nobody went out. Thank you for listening.